All right, so we have John joining us for the panel to answer some questions. We also have Mary Ford, who's the Director of Sales and Strategy Operations for Dell SecureWorks. She helped to build the CBON team from a startup to a publicly traded company. We also have Ryan Radding, who's the AVP of Sales at Salesforce. He is in the financial sector and has been with that company for about 6 years. They know something about invested teams in Salesforce. And we have Eric Mercado from Force Marketing. He helped build that sales team from 1 to 40 people and is definitely a sales leader in that area. And then our moderator will be Kyle Tothill from eHire. He's also the chair of our tag board. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, John, thanks very much. That was very insightful. This panel team was selected because of their domain expertise in these areas. Again, we really want you guys to get some takeaways that you guys can use to help improve your sales organization starting today, which is the whole purpose of this whole leadership society. So first, I want to ask the panelists, how do you define Salesforce engagement?
So engagement's a tricky word. There's definitely different levels of engagement within an organization, regardless of whatever the size of your sales team. And we've done a really good job of teaming up our sales teams and layering those out to say you have a manager, a direct report within the team, and then different layers of attack zones for each individual sales rep within that team. And I rely heavily on the regional managers to come back to us and tell us who's engaged and who's not. We have a tremendous amount of technology these days that makes it very easy to see who's engaged from a KPI level, right? This person's hitting their KPIs, they're making their calls, and they have the demos set and their appointments set and their closing percentages on point. But for me, the key definition of engagement is when you speak with these people on a week-to-week basis in your weekly one-on-ones, and it's in body language, and it's in the way that they answer questions, the complaints that they might give you about different people on their team. Because one thing that I've noticed, and I'm fairly young, but one thing that I've noticed is that one person can kill, the momentum of a team, regardless if they are hitting their KPIs. They could literally be the main reason why the remaining people on the team are not performing up to scale. They could be a holdback. So engagement to me is in those one-on-one weekly meetings. When you get the opportunity to build a relationship with somebody, even if it's just, hey, let's just go grab lunch, and you can see how passionate they are about what they're doing. And one of the things John said that resonated with me really well was they're always coming up with new ideas, new ways to sell the product, new ways to innovate the product. And they're taking those directly from the relationships that they're building with their own customers and the questions that they have. And they're bringing that up because they're looking to better the product because they know inevitably that'll better themselves and better their careers. So for me, that's how I define engagement, is in those one-on-one weekly meetings and in the persona that person brings to the table when you get a chance to meet with them. That's pretty much how I do it.
Good morning, everybody. So at Salesforce, sales engagement is it's paramount. So for those of you that are not familiar with our business, we're a cloud-based platform on a monthly driven business, a subscription model. And so it was funny, I was laughing when John was talking about the 11th hour. My business, we have an 11th hour 12 times a year, 12 fourth quarters. And so it's absolutely paramount to Salesforce that we create an environment that releases discretionary performance, right? An environment of the employees wanting to do something, not having to do something. And so that's absolutely critical to our business, where we create an environment of autonomy, where the employees are empowered and know where the expertise is, where the information is. We create an environment where they have an urge or a very big desire to get better, because we make it enjoyable and beneficial for them. Salesforce facilitates an environment of social, right? Because all of this means a lot when you're doing it with others and with other people. So that's, to us, to Salesforce as an organization, engagement is facilitating that type of environment.
Good morning, everyone. I have to laugh about this 11th hour thing because I represent the sales operations perspective, and you know the number of times I get the question, how can you get them to deliver sales earlier in the month? It doesn't work that way. It's going to be the 11th hour. All right, so when I think about sales engagement, to me, it's something that has 5 components: connection, support, reward, progress, and structure. And I'll tell you what I mean by each of those things. Connection is, as a team member, do I feel connected to my team? Do I enjoy spending time with them? And as a leader, you certainly have a role in building a team that helps people feel connected. Support very much ties into the mentoring and coaching element. Support means, do I feel like I can get help in this environment? Will my teammates help me? Will my manager help me? And am I able to be aggressive and not be afraid to fail? Do I have enough support to learn and grow in my position? Reward means, am I getting something out of this? The reward might be monetary, right? I hit my quota, I get monetary reward. It could be that I feel like the work that I'm doing has impact to the team or to our clients or to our broader community. And certainly at SecureWorks, when we think about our mission is to help our clients protect themselves from the bad guys on the internet, all of our employees, and especially our salespeople, certainly feel that their work has reward for their clients. So connection, support, reward, progress. Progress means, how am I moving forward in my career? How is the time that I'm spending in this sales team enabling me to progress, learn new skills, be a stronger team contributor? And one of the best tools that I've seen for creating that sense of progress is a very defined career progression model. Something that clearly lines out for a salesperson, you do these things and you will get promoted. And one of the great things about a sales function is that it is a place where you can be that prescriptive. I often get that question from a sales operations role, and that's a little bit more challenging. But in sales, you can say, listen, you sell this much in sales, you hit your quota a certain number of months, you gain so many clients, you have a lot of metrics you can show that if you do these things, you will get promoted. It's not all about the numbers, though. It could also be about experiences that you're able to be exposed to by moving through different levels. So a very defined career progression is one way to create engagement and certainly retention within a sales organization. And then the last component was structure. Structure is, do I know what my job is? Can I count on other people to do their job? Do I know what is expected of me in terms of activities, metrics, maybe a daily model? That really provides some sense of confidence and comfort that people know what their job is. So connection, progress, reward, structure, support.
Leave it to the sales operations person to have that completely pegged, right? Thank you very much, Mary. Yeah.
Yes, so my definition of engagement was the triangle. By the way, congratulations on the $1 billion acquisition, Mary. It's like Mary goes to businesses and then they either get bought or acquired or sold, and it kind of that golden touch. We'll have the slides out so that they can see it? Okay, great.
Cool. Yeah, so one of my mentors came up to me and a long time ago and said, hey, look, if you're trying to accomplish something, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So how do you measure Salesforce engagement? Is there a system that you use, a point system? What are your indicators as a whole if your Salesforce is engaged?
Not to shamelessly plug any of the people up here, but Salesforce, I was actually sitting over there and I said, it's funny, it's like my lifeline. Well, we use Dell computers, and we also use WideAngle. So everybody up here is part of my process of how I measure my
eHire?
team.
Come on, man.
Not yet, but we'll talk after.
What happened?
No, so we we have an internal recruiter, but we do a really good job of at least measuring our sales team's expectations. That's our number one job as managers is to identify how can I seamlessly press a button, and with all this technology these days, it's really easy to do that and see where do they stand right now in position to where I expect them to be at the end of the month. And that could be, for us, there's a couple different key elements that we measure, obviously phone calls being one of them. And unfortunately, that's never gonna go away. Email out there and all this, emails don't build relationships, okay? They don't. And one of the words that was announced up here 10, 15, 20 times by Birdsong was basically relationship. And relationship is the key component in our industry. And there's only one way to do that, and that's to actually speak with people and meet with people, whether it be face-to-face or via WebEx. So we measure our team by performance from 5 key metrics, one of those being phone calls. That's a big one. Demonstrations that they set, okay, or appointments for their regional managers to hold those demonstrations, okay. Opportunities created. Salesforce identifies all that for us seamlessly. I can press a button, I can see my entire team's pipeline, I can break it out by region. And then from a daily perspective, I can click another button on my computer and I can see exactly what their activity is today. So we lean heavily on technology to identify the day-to-day activity and the day-to-day pipeline of our sales team. And I really feel like that's helped us progress as a company because when I first started with this company, we didn't do that. It was more about just opportunities closed and revenue generated, and did they hit their quota or they did not hit their quota. And it allows us to also set some of those key performance bonuses and plans and rewards for our team. So when they do hit their KPIs, they get one format of a bonus. And when they do hit their quota, they get another format. And when they do open a certain amount of opportunities or set a certain amount of appointments, they get another bonus. And they're small and they're large depending on which metric. But all of that is seamlessly viewed by our management team with a couple clicks of a couple buttons. So we rely heavily on different platforms to see what is our total pipeline activity level and what we have coming down the pike. So that's how we measure performance.
Thanks for using us.
Yeah.
So at Salesforce, we drink our own wine. So we rely heavily on the platform, and there's a couple aspects to it. So as mentioned earlier, we certainly measure activity, right? And John, I thought you had a good point earlier of the sales reps needing to be able to walk in the morning and understand what they're being measured on. And I have I saw a couple of our account executives in the audience here, and as they can attest, when they log in the morning and they see the dashboards that are measuring how many prospecting calls are you making, how many on-site meetings are you making or executing on, how many BASHO emails are you executing on, how much pipeline. So we certainly measure the activity part. What I also think we take to another level is measuring some of the things outside of the normal sales metrics. So what personal goals have they set and have they achieved? So we monitor that. We monitor their skill sets. So what training have they accomplished? And we do this by badging. So at any point, anyone can look at someone's profile within the company and see what certifications they've achieved internally, what badges have they achieved internally, what's their arena of expertise. So we'll measure that aspect. We measure how quickly we can onboard a new hire, always looking to improve that experience and how quickly we can get them ramped to not only to productivity, but ramped to where they feel assimilated into the organization. So these are the types of things that we leverage the platform to measure, and like as I mentioned, we'll badge. We also do something that's I think very critical to our business. It's very important to us that we align our employees with our vision and our value, and that really has to start with your CEO at the top. But we do something called a V2 MOM, which is vision, values, why am I drawing a blank? Vision, values, your measures, objectives, and I'm missing one for some reason. Anyway, I'll come to it. So aligning, like, what is the vision of your organization? And it starts with the CEO. And then as he produces the V2 MOM for our organization, it then goes to each layer of management or leadership, and then propagates all the way to where the account executive is executing their own V2 MOM. And we leverage these when we when we meet one-on-one with our account executives or when I'm meeting with my leadership to see how we're performing against those goals, right? What are the obstacles that we perceive that we're going to incur, and then how are we measuring to overcome those obstacles? So I really think it's critical that everyone set some measurable framework around your vision. All right.
So I think that everybody's hit on some of those metrics, pipeline opportunities, things like that. And I definitely agree with focusing on input metrics to the sales process as one measure of engagement. I also look at a couple things that are more about the people side. So one is just a very basic, what's our retention rate? Are we keeping people on the team? What's our promotion rate? People have been on the team, they've done really well. Are they getting promoted to manager, being promoted to a different type of sales role, or outside of sales? So retention rate, promotion rate, referral rate. To what extent are your team members suggesting that their friends and colleagues join the team because it's such a great place to work, right? If it's a great place to work, they're asking people to come in, they probably have a high sense of engagement. Retention, promotion, referral rate. I love the ramp metric. How quickly are people seeing success? And I'm sure many of you in here have had the experience of helping that salesperson get their first win, no matter what it takes, so that they can understand what success tastes like within your organization. I love the point about vision and values, and John, your point about this is about people's lives. I love the fact that this SEG is titled Sales Leadership and not just Sales, because while there's a lot of focus on results, right? We all know what our quotas on and how well we're doing towards them. In the end, in the big scheme of things, we are all here and we go to work to build relationships and help improve our lives. And so the extent that an engaged workforce and creating that climate centered on some good values helps us to do that, then we all enjoy work more.
Also, sorry, I didn't have my coffee yet. It's method. So it's vision, value, method, obstacles, and then how do you measure?
And leave it to a West Coast company to say we drink our own wine versus our own dog food. Of course, right? So one of the ways that we measure engagement is the difficult tasks, the tasks that you have a hard time getting people to do, but as a leader, you know are critically important. For us, it's been getting people to engage in the community over time, and there's a lot of resistors to that because they have lives and families and kids. And we measure Salesforce engagement by how many people are starting to do that, because it's a very difficult task for a lot of people, believe it or not. It's the one way to just look at a small indicator to say, are you getting people engaged in your mission? Are they listening to what's really, really important, right? And can you measure that?
One thing on that is engagement. I'll never forget, I asked my cousin, he works at, I think it's ServiceNow, but I asked him, I said, how's his team doing? And when you ask a manager how their team is doing, there is this degree, there's so many ways that manager can answer that question, right? They can say, oh, we're 85% to quota after the first month, we're crushing it. But they can also answer it in a way where they dive into the person's life, right? Bill's doing well, Rachel, she's struggling, she just had a loss in the family, right? And if these types of conversations are coming out, this to me is an engaged. I remember walking away from that and being like, wow, he really knows his team. Like he knows not just where everyone is in terms of metrics, which is important, but he also knows this person's grandmother is struggling. They've just broke up with their girlfriend, right? And these things affect how they perform. It's just the truth, right? That's life. And so how managers answer that question is a really good indication of engagement.
Good point. We're going to move in and talk a little bit about gamification, and that's a very big topic for me. We've introduced a gamification platform in the recruiting business, which at first seems very simple, right? But see, make a match, go. But it's very complex. There's lots and lots of different pieces to it, and we recognize that there was a handful of things that we could do to actually improve predictability in our business, which is really hard. And we've gamified our business, and we've weighted certain metrics heavily versus others, and we've teamed the business. So we have 4 different teams that compete every quarter okay? And we've seen an increase of 33% across the board, not only in revenue, but also in upstream activities. And it's because they're competing with each other. You can come into my office and get yelled at for 15 minutes and you go back to your desk and everything's cool. But when your team wants to give you a blanket party because you didn't do something that cost them $5,000 or cost them a reward, the pressure to do something and be part of a team is much greater. So I'm curious to see, if you guys have seen that in your organizations or external organizations where that's been successful.
So I love the theory of gamification. I think it's fantastic. Everybody in this room who's in a management position, I'm sure you've sat down with a candidate for a sales position, and they may have not had the strongest resume, but they were so enthusiastic, and they were so passionate, and they were so competitive that you might have hired them. And in most cases, those people work out. That's one of the key factors that we look for in our sales team is in the immediate interview or in the candidacy process to figure out, are they extremely competitive? So the theory of gamification, it bodes so well to our industry. You're allowing somebody who may have had a background in sports or in the military or in these organizations where they had to compete or survive to play. Those typically make the best salespeople. And when you align them within teams and they're competing and going head to head against other teams, you do see them increase their performance. You do see those sales reps stay a little bit later to get their job done or to hit their quota or to get their pipeline a little bit fuller. And one of the ways that we had a struggle immediately, measuring how we would, introduce gamification to our company, and through our president's financial manager, we actually came across WideAngle, which was pretty cool because we said, how do we had a scoreboard already in the office, but it was only a scoreboard. It didn't measure all the intangibles to getting to the actual objective for the team. So we utilize, again, technology just to kind of figure out where does everybody stand. And then we put it front and center in front of our entire sales team so they see where they stand on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. Okay, am I losing to Rebecca, who's another team lead, okay, who's got the same size region I do, she's got the same potential I do, she's got the same number of team members I do. How am I losing? How am I 26% behind her? And that drives them. And then you might see that candidate stay a little bit later. And I love that. I love that about gamification, that I'm a competitive person myself. I do not like to lose. And I try to hire people just like myself, and gamification allows us to measure those intangibles to say, this they have the grit to get it done. They're going to stay a little bit later. So we measure it by that. And we also measure it by how they trend, right? So if you have a guy who may start his month off slow, but in the third week, all of a sudden he's leading activity by 20% and his pipeline's 30% over the objective, that guy's willing to step up. He has the grit to get it done. He's competitive. He saw that he was losing. Now he wants to win, or she wants to win, because we have some fantastic female sales reps. So that's what gamification allows us to do. That's how we measure it internally, using some technology, using some unmeasurable, things like they stay late, they're willing to work a little bit harder. And I'm not saying that that's the reason why they're successful, but they're willing to go the extra mile to get things done because they see that scoreboard every day. Yeah. So that's big for us.
Real time.
So Salesforce utilizes gamification to help drive, not necessarily, we don't tie it to revenue type results, but really how do we leverage it to drive behaviors that'll drive the revenue results. And so we'll tie gamification to activities, and we do it based on individuals and team, right? And we have found when we do the team aspect of gamification, it does help strengthen the engagement, right? They feel a part of something and that they're just not a quota-carrying individual. One thing we've seen tremendous success with gamification is around the education aspect. I've been with Salesforce for 6 years, and I have always felt that Salesforce had done a good job of educating through traditional methods. We recently released a program called Trailhead, which is a guided path of self-training and tutoring modules on Salesforce. Not just the technology, but processes too. Coaching for success, coaching for breakthrough, and things of that nature. And it's actually free. So we welcome all of you to try it.
It's called Trailhead?
Called Trailhead. And what's amazing about it, it's it incorporates a badging process, so you as an individual can obtain badges, and we have had huge success internally, just from an education perspective, where it hasn't been mandating of you have to get certified in this by this date. When we pull up the profiles of our sales reps, I'm very impressed with how much dedication they have to taking on these courses themselves in a pace that suits their manner. And we have some that have executed the majority. We have some that are doing a few here and there. But this program has really accelerated the learning of our platform with our sales reps and processes and best practices as well.
So that word gamification we can appreciate because it implies an injection of fun into the work environment, and that can certainly contribute to an engaged workforce. But in the big scheme of things, what is it all about? It's what John said, which is transparency and accountability. So how do we put a wrapper of fun around ensuring that the business result is achieved? And some of the best things that I've seen us do is to just use our Salesforce.com dashboards, pull them up in a team meeting, and you've got complete transparency and accountability in that situation where someone is having to walk through all their metrics, replay what they committed to last week, tell their team how they achieved that this week, and all the data is right there in front. And then when the team achieves at the end of month happy hour because we all hit our goal.
Yeah, I was just going to say one thing about gamification is we've worked with a lot of companies who want to leverage gamification, and it's kind of like me and going to the gym, right? I get to it, and I feel really good when I do it, and
You worked out?
Yeah, I know, dude. Today was an off day. But it's one of those things where it takes discipline to constantly put information in front of reps, whether it's through daily emails, whether it's through live leaderboards. And it's fun to see companies like Force Marketing that just own it. It's part of their process. It's part of their DNA. And that's not the case for all the companies, right? Sometimes a company, someone will go by, kick the computer, and next thing you know, the live leaderboard's been off for 3 weeks. And then I was like, wait, wasn't there a leaderboard up here, right? And that goes back to leadership. It goes back to accountability. Are you really putting the metrics in front of your direct reports as much as you need to? And at the end of the day, every company is different. And so I applaud the ones that really take ownership of providing this transparency and accountability, whether it's through daily emails, at 6 o'clock, an email gets sent out to everyone saying, here's where everyone stands, to a weekly report of here's where everyone stands, to live leaderboards. There's just so much you can do, and it's just part of how are you a manager.
That's great. We're going to move into coaching. So how intentional is your organization about coaching, and what do you guys employ as a process to make sure that gets done regularly, besides using WideAngle?
Well, no more plugs. So we have an ongoing coaching process. So one of the things that I found very interesting that was brought up today, and I think I'm going to try to talk the president into adopting, is a mentor program. Some of our most successful salespeople, I think our most successful salespeople, were not allowed to try selling for 30 to 60 days. They just had to engage with every department within our office. They had to meet every single associate. They had to sit with a successful sales representative and learn the ins and outs and the intangibles of getting their job done or being successful and what it really took to get it done. And for some reason, we kind of went away from that. And it may have been just because we didn't want to distract anybody, but and now we're readopting that, bringing it back into the fold as of the last couple of months, and we're seeing again another progression, and the ramp-up time is dramatically shortened for these sales reps' success when they actually start selling, because they already know how to overcome key objections. They already know what that sales cycle looks like and the cadence of conversations, the road to the sale, for the lack of a better term. So we the coaching part of this is so huge. And also it builds that relationship. So again, I revert back to that word because it's such an important word. And it's been mentioned by all the panelists multiple times, knowing the ins and outs of your team and what drives them and what makes them successful and you know, how can I reward them and they're going to accept that? Is it public praise? Is it monetary? Do we do the end of the month happy hour and everybody's high-fiving, enjoying that win together? So coaching is a key role. It's constant. It never stops, right? Because one of the things, you know, especially in this building right here, is all these products are constantly evolving, right? Tech is a constantly evolving thing. You know, once you get it right where it needs to be, something has changed and you got to move on. And so you have to constantly be coaching your team on that progression with your product, with your sales cycle, and how that changes when things change from a technology perspective, or how your product changes, or the industry metrics that change. So coaching is huge for any industry. Small, you know, I consider us, compared to some of the others on the panelists, a smaller industry. You know. But we have the ability to have that one-on-one coaching, and it does show a tremendous upside and a tremendous ramp-up time.
So at Salesforce, one thing our CEO is very big on is driving an environment of innovation. And what we have found is the people with the best ideas are our own employees. And so we've really morphed our coaching. So I've been with Salesforce 6 years, which in Salesforce years makes me 90. But, you know, we've really morphed where the coaching used to be the people with the most experience, right, were the ones offering the knowledge in that one-on-one interaction. But we've really changed our methodology of coaching to really pull the ideas from the employees, from our sales reps. And so when we sit down and we talk about, all right, what is the goal for this one-on-one or conversation? What's the reality? What have you tried already? What do you view as the obstacles? And then what do you think is the way forward? And when we have that structure, I've really seen, you know, I have a couple account executives here where instead of coming to me saying, how do I do this? It's more validation now, right? Where they come and say, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I've tried, here's the problem, here's how I think we solve it. And then I, as a coach, am either validating that or adding to that. But it's really helped us cultivate a culture of new, innovative ideas, as opposed to just being restricted to my experiences and my knowledge.
So I think coaching is about the full experience of helping a salesperson achieve their full potential. So that comes not just from the manager that they report to, but anybody in the organization that can help them learn and grow and perform at a higher level. I think the key to success about it is having structure around it and good process discipline within your organization to ensure that the structure is something that is real and not just something that is on a piece of paper or in an email in somebody's box. It has to be present. People have to feel it and know that it exists. So when you have a new hire onboard or ramping plan, everybody knows what it is. It's cross-functional. Everybody has a role in making it happen. You can certainly measure it and put technology around it to have the milestones to hold people accountable, but it has to be defined, and you've got to have good process discipline to make sure that it happens in every instance.
Yeah, one piggyback off that. So she talked about the definition of coaching, and that's, if we all got surveyed walking out of this room and we asked, what is your definition of coaching? Everyone will come up with something different, guaranteed. Is it call coaching? Is it pipeline coaching? Is it deal coaching? Is it the ass pat on the hallway that you just gave your rep for closing a deal? Yeah, I just coached my guy. We talked at the water cooler. He's good to go. Sales coaching is a very vague word. And so to Mary's point around putting that structure in place is absolutely vital to, where are you going to prioritize your coaching? Is it going to be the call coaching? Is it going to be pipeline coaching? And we think one-on-ones, and where it's been validated by hundreds of managers, that is the quarterback of coaching. You know exactly, all right, we're going to spend an hour on the pipeline. We're going to spend, 20 minutes on these 2 deals, and then tomorrow at 7 o'clock, we're going to role play these 3 calls that you butchered.
That's great. Yeah, I agree with all
So,
that.
I think there's also a little bit about how do you know that you have a coaching culture or coaching environment. I think in some cases it can be difficult to measure, but the thing that's always resonated with me is that if you have an interaction with an employee and you know you're having an honest conversation where that person is showing a little bit of vulnerability, help me, can you help me, I don't know how to do this, and you're able to provide them some feedback, and then they come back to you and say, thank you, that's helped me a lot. It's that interaction, it's hard to measure, but you know if you've had it or not.
It makes a huge difference. I'm gonna completely take a different reference. And I was playing in a Ryder Cup golf tournament this past weekend, and of course we're all grinding really hard, and we were playing at a big golf course in Alabama. And one of the guys came by from the club and said, "Y'all are playing really slow," and he yelled at us, and he was on us. And then the guy that was sitting in the cart next to him said, "Yeah, tell him how to get better." He said, "Oh, well, putt your putt out. Finish your putts so you'll speed up play." And we were getting angry as he was doing this, and then finally he gave us a tip to how we could get better. And I think that's the key to coaching, right? Is you want to make sure that people are hitting their metrics, and you want to make sure that people are performing. But if you don't tell them how to get better at their craft, if you're not working on the behaviors that make them get better at their craft, they're going to fail. And then they're going to hate the organization. They're not going to like you, right? And the whole thing's going to collapse on itself. So I want to take some time. We've run a little bit over, which is not abnormal for this group. But I want to take some questions from the audience for this esteemed panel. You guys can stand up, speak loud. Go ahead. Say it.
Sam, this is for John. So it started us off with coaching, we finished up with coaching. I'll take another example of an industry in a company in town, Knowledge It, now per diem. It's been doing this in the call center for years. So how does coaching look different between, and Cal Porter's probably the best one to describe the different tiers of sales organization, but how does the coaching look different from an inside group versus a dispersed field sales organization? And like Eric said, body language is important. Well, you can have a remote salesman out there. You're not going to get body language from that guy. You're not going to be able to fly out to California to be for an hour meeting.
Yeah, great question. So, great question. So the question was, how does coaching, what does coaching look like between inside sales versus outside sales? And we interact with hundreds of managers every month. And some of our best managers, example, General Electric, all remote, right? We also, like Eric, they're all inside. And so it depends on how tenured they are, right? And this in terms of frequency, right? Are you going to hold a weekly one-on-one for someone that's worked at the company for 30 years and knows, the 5 folks that they need to develop a relationship with? Probably not. Are you going to hold a monthly, a results-focused meeting? Yes, right? And that's that one-on-one. If you've got a remote team of folks right out of college that are 2-3 years out of school and they've just now been promoted to outside, then you're going to want to have these touch points. But at the end of the day, one-on-ones and coaching, it's about first building a relationship. And once you build that relationship with that individual, you're going to be able to figure out, do I need to be more hands-on? Do I need to be less hands-on on that individual? And when you give them that platform that allows them to communicate with you, back to some of the conversations up here with Ryan, that will dictate it, right? That will dictate how much coaching you need, how much, some people really want they want a continuation of the helicopter parents, right? They do. Hey, how am I doing on this? How am I doing on this? How am I doing on this? I was talking to my friend yesterday who's a banker up in New York, and he's, now a manager of all these young associates, and he's like, I think they want me to tell them everything to do, right? Like they want me to tell them everything to do. Whereas some of the outside reps, they're probably working at home. If they get up at 9 o'clock and they're taking their call from the PJs, are you really going to care or know about it? But they want that freedom. So what's most important, Sam, is that you customize it to the individual. And the only way you're going to customize it to the individual is if you know and understand them.
We have a question over here.
Hi, I'm Mike Wayne from Specific Edge, and I had a question for Mary. Mary, you said 5 keys to engagement. It's really appreciated. Connect, support, reward, progress, and structure. On the support, there were two pieces that you talked about. We've done a good job talking about the coaching. But what about mentoring? Is there a difference? If there is, can you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you, Mike. And I appreciate Mike's question. Mike and I have been on the board of Atlanta Track Club. So, John, if you want to get into running because you can't get to the gym, then Mike and I can help you out. So the difference, coaching versus mentoring, I think there is a little bit of difference in that relationship. When I think about coaching, I do tend to think of the manager-subordinate relationship, which sometimes has some boundaries or some barriers that you have to recognize and put into place. When I think about mentoring, almost as if there are no boundaries. I've got a couple of folks in the audience here today that have been in a mentoring relationship with me, and I think it's a little bit freer place. It's a place where both sides can be a little bit more vulnerable and a little bit more sharing about experiences, and sometimes more direct in feedback. I do think that when you get to a larger organization, certainly SecureWorks being part of Dell, you tend to have a little bit more HR parameters that you have to work inside, and so coaching can be bounded by that. But mentoring is a little bit more free reign. I also think that mentoring is something that does not have to be a formal situation. We tend to think of it with a lot of formality and structure and process, and if that is possible for someone, then that's fantastic. But I would ask that we think about mentoring as something that can be broader. You can really learn from anyone. You can have mentors that influence your, what do you call it, transferring perspective? Influence your perspective, and that mentor could be a peer, it could be somebody on your team, or it could be just really anybody in your organization. And one of the things that I have always encouraged my team members to do is to give me feedback. So whether they call that coaching up or mentoring, some of the best things I have learned in my career is because somebody who was on my team cared enough about me to tell me something that I really needed to know, and that has dramatically improved my ability to be a leader.
John. Hey, real quick question. So, John Williams, N3, is for Ryan there. We heard about the importance of saving time on their calendar to perform coaching as we're doing our one-on-one, right? So that is really difficult to do when you have a very thin calendar, right? So I'd just like to get some advice from you for moving on. How do you go about protecting that time on your calendar so you can achieve that mission of leaving enough time for coaching?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And look, we struggle with that as well. There isn't enough time in the day. And so what we try to do is leverage, it's kind of a combination of technology and time. As often as we can do the one-on-ones, absolutely, we leverage it. But we do leverage our platform for one-on-ones. And to be honest, a lot of the younger sales reps prefer that method of communication, right? They want their professional experience to mimic their personal, and so sometimes they don't want to talk to you, right? They text me it, but we leverage the platform. So we actually have a one-on-one, a private one-on-one area in the profile of the sales rep, and that's where we document any type of one-on-one or coaching that's given. And so if the one-on-one in person can't take place, then we'll certainly leverage that workspace. And it's been pretty effective thus far. It can always improve for sure. We do feel that as best as possible to keep the one-on-one in person is paramount. But in our world, it's not realistic. And so leveraging a platform like Salesforce that has a one-on-one secure area can help supplement that.
So one of the things that we all know how to weigh is opportunity cost, right? We all know that. So the one-on-ones to us are at time that's blocked off. It's as it doesn't even exist, because the one-on-one and that weekly coaching or that weekly I care about you session is pivotal to that rep's success. It's pivotal to their growth, and there's very rarely an opportunity that outweighs that. because you're talking long term versus short term. You're talking, the marathon versus the mile. So to me, whether it doesn't have to take place face to face, by the way, that's like he said, it's completely, the time itself doesn't move, but it can happen over a phone. Our reps know not to schedule presentations or demos during that time. They know not to schedule trips during that time. They know that it's imperative that they're on that call. Or if they are, they do have an opportunity that their opportunity meeting takes place after that time and they call in. I think we all have to look at it and say, like, it shows that you care enough and that you're willing to cut it out of your schedule every single week to make sure that they're successful. That's priceless to people. So for me, no matter how thin the schedule is, I have a couple of my reps in the audience, they'll tell you we meet every single week, if not once, twice a week, once to kind of go over their issues, concerns, things I can help them with, and then once to talk about the revenue, the pipeline and what we can do to help close business. So,
And John, to piggyback off Eric, I asked Rob Beatty the same question. Rob Beatty is at Thomson Reuters, runs a 150-person sales team, 15 managers, and I said, Rob, how do you have time for one-on-ones, right? I mean, you've got 14 direct reports. This is a lot of time each week. And he said, you know what? What I found when I was doing my one-on-ones is that my schedule freed up. And here's why. This is a big takeaway for all the folks in the audience today. My managers and my reps started to realize the difference between urgent versus important. My managers and my direct reports started realizing the difference between urgent and important. Reps would come to him with things that seemed important, right? But once he started doing one-on-ones, they left all the important things for the one-on-one and really kept the urgent things that would, and these are the fires that we all put out every day, right? These are the fires that prevent us from really making a change at 9:31. And so when the reps start saying, okay, well, I know I'm going to talk about with John this important aspect, but I'm going to wait till tomorrow because that's when a lot of time is there. It frees up your time from putting out fires. Huge takeaway for me and really opened up my eyes in terms of how to look at it.
Yeah, it's just intentional behavior. You have to do it. You got to make it important, and it comes from the top. And if it comes from the top, you'll do it. We talk a lot about transparency and being able to have tough conversations up and down laterally in the food chain. Customers, candidates, it doesn't matter. You got to be strong enough to say, hey, what's going on here is frustrating me. Okay, I need help, right? And I need you to help me in a way where you can stop and listen to me. And I need that relationship. The number one attribute for employee engagement is who you work for. It's number one. And it's cross internet. It's very widely accepted rule. And so I think, if you hold that person accountable, and by the way, nobody wants to lose good sales reps or young aspiring managers that are very talented, that person should listen to you.
Yeah, one other thing is go to your manager and say, I'm bringing this to you with the intent to improve, right? And when you hit him with that or her with that, then they don't look at it as a problem to solve. They look at it as, all right, how can I now make sure that this rep has the development necessary? And that's the problem that they're starting to solve, right? So you're reframing the problem. When you go with them and say, hey, I've got this problem, of course they want to fix it, right? But go say, I'm bringing this problem to you because of X, because I want to learn this one skill, because I want to figure out how to close this deal so next time I don't have to come to you. And so go there with that intent of, this is why I'm bringing it to you and this is what I hope to get out of it.
Yeah. And you might take that to a more intimate setting if they're not listening. It's like, let's go get a beer, let's go have lunch, let's go have breakfast. I need focus time with you.
I believe that question circles around employee empowerment. So for me, one of the things that if somebody comes to me with a problem, I always ask them, what would you do? What would you do to fix it? What's your solution? So now they have this in their mind. I'm not going to go to him with a problem unless I have a suggested solution. And that's because you have the managers that want to take everything and they want to fix everything and they don't really want to lean on anybody to fix it. And then you have the managers that are really good at delegating, like some of the panelists here that I'm sure have tons of people that are direct reports, and they can delegate things to them and they can trust they're gonna get it done because they're solution providers. So if you have a project or a problem and you go to your manager and you ask them, and you've asked them repeatedly, next time go to him, here's what I wanna do. Here's what I'm gonna do to get it done. Are you okay with me doing this? And it might change his perspective. A lot of times they might just go, yeah, go ahead, sounds great. But if you're expecting them to take it and solve your problem for you, that's sometimes it becomes opportunity cost. Is it urgent versus important? Did I need to do this right now? Or can I finish all these other things that I have, these other initiatives that I know I have to get done and they're deadline driven, and then get back to that employee? So I would tell you that.
We got time for one more question, and then we're going to wrap up because we all got to get out of here. We have lives to lead. In the back.
I'm Eric Jenga, and John, a question for you about the bottom 3 employees, the disengaged folks. After a certain amount of time, if you're not able to move them up to a certain level of engagement, is it time to cut them out and just start looking for people, or do you have other recommendations?
My recommendation is if they add value to the culture, so they're just not hitting their numbers, but they're adding value to the culture and they're a significant value add to the culture, then look for other areas of employment within the company. Right? I mean, it's sales isn't for everyone, right? But if someone's coming in and they're adding that good energy, the good vibe, and you don't want to lose them to just because they're not performing, find somewhere else within the organization.
Good question. Okay, I think we're going to put a wrap on this. We're going to have this presentation put in SlideShare, and we're going to send it out to everybody. Because I know there's a lot of good content that you were moving fast and that everybody can take away. And we have a couple of announcements.
We talked about engagement, a couple of things. First of all, hashtag ATL sales, if you didn't know that. Also, if everyone could take your phone out real quick. Everyone's got a phone?
We don't have them up here.
Everyone get a phone, go to the LinkedIn app, and if you search tag sales leadership, that is it's a private group. So it'd be great for you guys to join the group. Blake will accept your invite if you were in the meeting. It's a great way to socialize because it can't just happen in this meeting. It's got to happen throughout, and everything that you're learning, all the collateral, the blogs, it's a great place for everyone in this group to interact. Also, the people that signed up, I know some people just snuck in here, but the people that actually signed up, you're going to be getting an email survey coming out that talks about this event. If there's other locations you'd like to go to, if you want to do evening events versus morning. So be on the lookout for that survey. So in the spirit of engagement, let's all engage.
The last thing we have to say about that is the Tag Sales Leadership Society has a mentorship program. And we built that because we want this ecosystem to be sustainable. And we need mentors. We've got a lot of mentees with a lot of requests, and we need mentors. And there's a panel back there, and I know Blake will be manning that, and Jeff will be manning that as well. On your way out, we'd love to have your expertise because there's a lot of aspiring young sales leaders, okay, some of which are in this audience, that need to be matched up with you guys so that we can continue to improve as an ecosystem. And I'm very serious about that. I'm working with the Metro Chamber of Commerce to make sales leadership a pillar that we sell to when companies are looking to come to Atlanta. I hear it all the time from people out west. Hey, how's the sales ecosystem there? Is there enough talent? Is there workforce availability? And the answer is, heck yeah. We have lots of it here. Move your business to Atlanta. Help our society and community grow. And so we really need your help. And so we'd love for you guys to sign up in the back. We have sheets there, or give Blake your name. We're having the next meeting in June, so it's going to be a quick one, quick turnaround, and it's going to be how to build and execute a sales culture strategy that is high performant. And so we think that's a really interesting topic. Again, it's an esoteric topic that we can get drilled down into and give you guys some tactics and some strategies to help you guys drive a high performance sales culture. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.